Olympic champs Kyle Snyder and Helen Maroulis on one mat.
And they got the Greco world champ with Chris Brown.
That's right, two-time, right?
Yeah.
Two-time veteran world champion. Coming up soon, any minute now. Hey.
The hot tub.
Oh, it's been a while, man. How's it going? Re-coaching.
I'm head coach at UMBC now.
You are?
Yeah.
That was the camp we saw you at.
Yeah.
See, Kraus is here too?
No, where's he at?
He was sitting there.
Obviously, I saw
He's around here. Oh, you saw him? Nice.
So you guys just touring doing the Z Fanatical thing, or?
We're doing Wrestling Mindset now full time.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
the dream, right?
Yeah, he left his job as a school guidance counselor. I left at Merrill Lynch as a financial advisor. And we have one guy who left his job in the FBI to do it. So
Oh my God, that's too cool.
we got to get down there soon.
So for
Card.
the entire day here,
I'll get you
we've had some of the coaches in the wrestling community in Maryland and Virginia and Delaware participating and trying to improve themselves to help wrestlers improve themselves. And we're so pleased and thrilled. I want to introduce two people you may not know yet to you, and they're going to speak to you and also do a little bit of demonstrating. One is the first American woman ever to win a gold medal with us. When they did this, I called USA Wrestling West Dutchess. I said, "Listen, what would you do without Maryland wrestling?" These both have so many accolades that it would take a half hour to say them all. But Kyle started his career off at my Mount Manus wrestling tour as champion from Good Counsel and participated in our Faro program and just went on and happened to win a gold medal at the Olympics this year himself. United States youngest male ever, both from Maryland. Just absolutely phenomenal. They're both going to talk and show demonstrations to you. They're going to demonstrate for about a 20-minute period, and then talk the last 10, and then Helen will come back and do the exact same thing. So thank you all for coming, and thank them because they have such a busy schedule. It's unbelievable, but they came back to Maryland to let you guys show your appreciation. So thanks a lot.
All right, so yeah, I'm going to teach for like 20 minutes, and then we do like 10 minutes of questions. Questions could be about technique, wrestling, the Olympics, anything you guys want to talk about, Ohio State, yeah, anything. So, but first I'll show some technique. My partner, what's your name again? Matt. My partner Matt's going to help me out so I can show some technique to you guys. First thing, most important thing, if you want to be a good wrestler on your feet, I always say is your stance discipline. Okay? So before I get started, I always make sure that I'm in a good stance. I'm a right leg lead. If you're a left leg lead, then you can just do the opposite of what I say for these takedowns. But how I make sure that I'm in a good stance is when I come onto the line, I touch my fingertips to the mat. Okay, this just is kind of a stance check. Make sure that my hands are low. Make sure that my knees are bent. And it means I'm fast on my feet. Okay? So I do a stance check. I touch my fingertips on the mat. All right, been doing this for a while. And from here, I want to be able to stay in my stance the whole time I'm drilling and the whole time I'm in a match. Okay, so I do a lot of stance and motion to kind of condition my body to make sure that I can stay in my stance throughout the whole match. Because if you're in a good stance during the whole match and your hands are down and your head's up and your feet are underneath you, you can sprawl, you can get your legs back, you can fake, you can move, get angles, and it's a lot easier to get to your offense and a lot harder for your opponent to get to his defense. So it's pretty simple, but real important. Because sometimes I see guys drilling with their knees locked out and their hands on the head like this. So just make sure, stance check, touch your fingertips on the mat. From here you can wrestle. You can down block, circle, fake, all that type of stuff. So I'll just show you guys my favorite takedown, and then Helen will probably show her favorite takedown when she teaches. So my favorite takedown is an ankle pick. It's one that I started using actually like later on in my wrestling. I was normally like, you know, high crotch and single leg. That's typically what I did, like what everyone did. And then like probably 8th, 9th grade is when I started learning the ankle pick and learned it from a lot of different people. So we got a couple different setups to it. And stop me if you have any questions. If anybody has any questions, you guys can stop me. So again, I'm a right leg lead. I touch the mat. I'm in a good stance. I'm a right leg lead, so I don't want to reach with my right hand, because if I reach with my right hand, partner's going to post against my lead leg. Now I want that. Okay? So I collar tie with my back hand first. All right? So I touch the mat. I collar tie with my back hand. I bring my head to the same side that I want to attack. So I'm going to be attacking his back leg, which is okay, because we're going to get it to move in front of us. So I touch the mat, I collar tie, bring my head to the same side that I'm going to attack. My lead leg hand grabs his wrist. From here, I push forward. I circle him back so the foot's in front of me. And now this is one of the most important parts when you guys go back and to your clubs and you drill it and you get real good at it. This is going to be the thing you guys want to focus on the most, right here. So I collar tie, I push, I circle his lead leg back in front of me. When I circle his lead leg back in front of me, I want to take everything down to the mat. I want to take his head, and I want to take his wrist, and I want to take my lead leg, knee, down to the mat. Here. Okay, if I leave his head up, and I try to bring my hand down to his ankle, if I try to push his head, he's going to be real strong. He's going to come through me. That's going to stink. I don't want that to happen. So when I take his head, I try to bring his head down to his knee, and when I try to bring his hand down to his shoe. Then I release, and from here it's real easy to throw him over top and get your takedown. And key point from that position is when I bring his head down to his knee here and his wrist down, I try to throw away his head and come to my feet. Okay? Sometimes I see guys hit the ankle pick and they throw away the head and then they fall on their belly and this guy comes over top. You guys, sometimes you'll get taken down, sometimes it'll be a stalemate, but we just want our 2 points. Okay? So when I take him down, from here, I'll throw his head away and come up to my feet. He'll usually belly out, and then I'll hop on top for my takedown. That's the first setup. You guys got any questions? Cool? All right, so these are all going to kind of work together. Next setup is going to come from the same collar tie. Collar tie with my left hand. This time he's tired of me grabbing his wrist and ankle picking him. So he says, you know what? I'm not going to let him grab my wrist anymore. I'm going to grab his wrist. Right? And we're like, shoot, he's got my wrist now. I can't score. What am I going to do? Anybody got any ideas? Yeah. Sprawl? You could sprawl if he shoots. That's true. If she shoots, yeah. We're going to score anyway. I heard somebody say it. We're going to score anyway. So, oh, shoot. What would you do? Yeah, you could definitely do that. You could definitely snap down the head and shoot. but we're going to do another ankle kick with it. Okay? So that's a good idea. So what we're going to do is, this time, collar tie, good stance, collar tie with my backhand. He decides he's going to grab my wrist. Okay? Just because he has my wrist doesn't mean I can score. Doesn't mean that I can't score. Actually, I like this ankle pick more because I feel like it camouflages my attack. So the guy that I'm wrestling doesn't know that I'm going to score or I'm going to get to his leg until the very last minute. Okay? The very last second. And then it's already too late. Alright, so I collar tie, he grabs my wrist, we do the same motion. I push forward, I circle back, his foot's out in front now, and I take his head and my hand straight down to the mat, to the back of his ankle, throw his head away, come up to our feet. Okay, so the finish is going to be the same every time we do it, but different setups. You guys got that one? That one cool? Alright. Now, this is like the most common position that I see in high school wrestling and junior league wrestling. This head-to-head position right here. I collar tie, he collar ties. Right here, and we're stuck. And we're just squeezing as hard as we possibly can. And trying to rip his head off or something, I don't know. But this is another good place for us to have an ankle kick, because we end up there a lot. Okay? So again, I'm in a good stance. Remember, good stance. I'm in a good stance. I collar tie my partner. He re-collar ties me. What I'm going to do is thumb block on his shoulder here. Okay? This is a thumb block. Your arm up. The thumb block right here. 4 fingers on his tricep. Other finger inside. Okay? Why I like the thumb block is because I can feel my opponent lower his level. So I know if he'll attack. I know if he's about to attack. And then I can also push him away or snap him down. If I just lay my hand on his shoulder, he can lower his level and nothing's stopping him. Okay? If I lay my hand on his arm here, same deal. He can lower his level and nothing's stopping him. But when I put my thumb, good thumb block on his head, and he lowers his level, I can push him away. And I can feel the pressure on my thumb and lower my level with him. Alright? So here, I collar tie, he collar ties me, we're in real tight. It's really hard to score on somebody if you're in real tight. Alright, you need a little bit of space. So what I do is I extend my arm here, and then I take my hand, my thumb block hand, and I go to the middle of his arm, basically to his elbow. Alright, but I'm right here with it. I'm not grabbing his elbow like a hot dog or whatever. I'm putting my hand straight from the thumb block to the middle of his elbow, and I'm going to bring that to my chest. Okay, so I'm here, I push away, I bring his elbow to my chest, the foot comes forward, and now I take everything straight down to the mat, release his elbow, ankle pick. Okay? Sometimes, if you do this one right, you won't even have to hit your knee. If you snap his elbow to your chest hard enough, his foot will come flying forward, and then you can kind of just reach down and grab it and throw away his head. Still got to pull his head down. But again, one more time. I collar tied, he collar ties me, we're in real tight. I push away with the thumb block. Now I bring his elbow back to my chest. His foot comes forward. I bring his head and his elbow down to the mat. Release his elbow to his ankle. Throw it away. Up to our feet. Okay? Any questions? And I like moves where I know what he's going to do before he knows what he's going to do. Okay? So I know that his foot is going to come forward even though he doesn't. Because I know when I snap, his foot's going to come forward and I'll be able to score off of that. Okay? Next ankle pick will be the opposite side of the body. Any questions? All right, we're cool. All right, next ankle pick is going to come off of when he collar ties me. Okay? And it's going to come from an over tie. And this is probably one of my best ankle picks. One that I hit on a lot of different people because it's pretty tricky. Just guy doesn't feel it. So we've been attacking the same side of the body throughout the whole match. This time we're going to go to the opposite side of the body. So he collar ties my head, and I'm going to over tie all an overtie is, I take my hand, I put it on his ear, over top of his collar tie, and I bring his head to his bicep. Okay? Why I bring his head to his bicep is it kind of messes up his stance a little bit, makes it harder for him to shoot. All right, makes it harder for him to shoot. And you definitely don't want him coming underneath of your arm. So that's why I bring his head to his bicep. Grab his ear, head to his bicep, and then I take my free hand and I grab his wrist. Okay? From here we can do a lot of different things. We can let go of the head, fake, and come back out. We can take the hand off your head here, or we can do this ankle pick. This is where I switch my feet so I'm closer to his foot. Everything goes down to the mat again. Release his hand, throw his head away, ankle pick. All right, and how I took his hand off his head, that's kind of like probably the most important thing that I do in my hand fighting. And this is kind of a secret that I don't typically reveal at clinics or camps, but since this is a great state of Maryland, and I got all these Maryland wrestlers here, I'm going to reveal this little secret to you guys, all right? I was taught this by one of my partners, Tervel Delagnev. He was a heavyweight Olympian this year. He was a heavyweight Olympian in 2012. And he taught me this technique because he was doing it to me while I was wrestling him. I had no idea he was doing it to me. But he kept doing it to me over and over again. I was like, man, my lower back is so tired. I can't get my stance anymore. He's hand fighting me all over the mat. My feet are so heavy. I'm like, what are you doing to me? How are you doing this to me? And he showed me this setup, and that was the worst mistake he ever made. Now, that's all I do to him, and it's all I try to do to people while I'm wrestling them. Okay, and a lot of different setups come from it. I'm just going to show you guys how to do it, and then you guys be creative and find different ways to score from it. But it's real simple. So it comes from an overtie. He's going to collar tie me. I'm going to come over top, bring his head to his ear, just like we were setting up that ankle pick. What I'm going to do is I take my chin, I bring it to my chest, I take my elbow, and I pull down, and as I pull down, his hand's going to come off my head here. And now I keep my hand on his head, which puts pressure on his lower back, and he's underneath of me. So I can be fast in here. I can get an angle here, he can circle back, get an angle here, but it makes him move his feet, and it makes him really tired, and it makes his feet heavy. So if you guys ever watch my video, and if you guys forget how to do this, you can watch my video because I do it a lot in the matches. And a lot of times, a lot of my scores come off of this tie. Because it's, I get him underneath me, and I push down. And when I push down, he pushes up, and I can shoot underneath him. Okay? But again, here it is. I overtie, hand on his ear, bring his hand to his bicep. I take my chin, I put it to my chest, and I take his hand off by rolling my elbow over top, putting it down. Okay, when I was first learning it, I had a really hard time getting his hand off my head. I would overtie him, and I would put my chin to my chest, and I would just be going like this, and nothing would happen. Okay? What you do when you're first learning it is you take your lead leg and you step back as you put your chin to your chest and pull his head down here. It makes it a lot easier. So you go leg back, leg forward. And then as you get better at it, you're able to just take it off and you lower your level. As you can see, I lowered my level, he came out of his stance. I'm in a good position to score here. Blast right through him. Okay? So, again, collar tie, hand on his ear, head to his bicep. You can grab a wrist, you can go to his tricep, whatever you want to do. But chin to your chest, elbow go down. Now I'm over top of him, and we can do a lot of different things. We can step to the side, an ankle pick. I pull down, he pulls up, double, or I can just suck him down into a front headlock. Okay, I take his hand off my head and suck him down into a front headlock. Score. Okay? But yeah, I think that was 20 minutes. The ankle picks are all the same finish, just different setups. But that taking the hand off your head has been probably one of the most influential things in my wrestling so far. So if you take anything away from what I just taught, that's the most important thing. Okay? And if you're getting tired, one more thing, if you're getting tired of your partner doing it to you, so if my partner's going to try to take my hand off, if I'm trying to take his hand off his head and you get tired of your partner doing it to you during live, what you do is you just flatten your hand on his back. So you flatten your hand on my back. I try to take it off, now I can't. Okay? So that's something that I have to do to people who are doing it to me. But that's the counter to it. But most of the time people won't counter and you'll just be able to do it throughout the whole match. So if you guys got any questions about now anything, the Olympics, thanks man, I appreciate it. Yeah, if you guys got questions about the Olympics, Maryland wrestling, any questions about it? Yeah? I did. It's a very good high school, yeah. I don't know if you had it. They would allow a girl, I think, yes. But I don't know if you had a girl, you could be the first one. Yeah. Yeah, I went to Good Counsel High School for 3 years. I went to Sykesville Middle School, lived in Carroll County, still do, live in Carroll County. I went to public school up until my freshman year. And then my junior year, I transferred, went out to Colorado Springs to train for a year at the training center. So that was fun. But went to Good Counsel for 3 years, yeah.
Aside from your training regimen, what are you doing off the mat mentally to prepare for these world and national events?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I always talk a lot about valuing the correct things. So I try to value the things that I can control. And I know I can always control my effort while I'm wrestling. I know and the mindset guys, I know, they probably talked about this. I can always control my effort. I can always control my attitude. I can control my attack rate, how many times I attack while I'm on the mat. I can control how stingy I am in each position. So these are things that I think about a lot, even when I'm not wrestling, but especially leading up to practice, throughout the day and after practice, I evaluate myself and talk about, just think in my head what I did well during practice. Did I value those things? Or the other side of it is valuing things you can control, which as much as all of us want to control winning, we can't control winning. Because if I could control winning, my record would be 1,000-0. And no one would ever have beat me, and I would have beat everyone by 100 points. But because I can't control the outcome, I've lost. And you can value things like the accolades. You can value things like money or Twitter followers and Instagram followers, all that cool stuff. And valuing that stuff isn't bad, and it comes naturally because those are the things you want the most, right? But a lot of times I feel like that's made me nervous and anxious before I competed. So when I value the things that I can control, like my effort and how hard, just how much can I get out of myself while I'm wrestling, and kind of let the other stuff fall into the back burner, because no matter what, I'm never going to step on the mat and say, I want to lose, right? And my natural instinct is always going to be, I want to win when I step on this mat. I'm a competitor. But I don't need to think about that, because I already know that's what I want. I need to place these things in my mind that I can control. I need to make sure that I'm still having fun and trying to wrestle to the best of my ability. And if I can think about that stuff, it calms me down and allows me to wrestle as hard as I can. And it's good, as coaches and as parents, it's good to remind your athletes or your kid or your friends. Remind them, I need reminders from people, my training partners and my coaches, because I take the sport really seriously. I train hard. I want to do well. But when people can remind me, say, hey, man, just remember why you do this. You do this because you love it. And Wrestle hard. Just wrestle hard. I don't have anything else. Wrestle hard and have fun. As long as you do those two things, then there's nothing else I can ask of you. So, yeah.
Okay.
One more. Sorry.
You wrestled overseas a couple of times last winter.
Yeah.
At 15. How much did you let your weight fluctuate when you were wrestling for Ohio State then? What did you weigh in New York City?
Yeah, I weighed 223 the first day, 224 the second day, and 225 the third day. And I weigh the same pretty much. 223 to 226 is what I'll weigh the whole year. I don't really get much bigger than that or much smaller than that. And then most of the tournaments are 2 kilos, so it's like 217 to me. So it's an 8-pound cut, and then I'll go right back up. A lot nicer than Helen's cut. But 8-pound cut, and then I'll go right back up to 225. And that's what I'll do this year. That's what I did last year for the tournaments overseas. So I don't really have to manage my weight too much.
How many times did you go overseas this wrestling season?
3 times. Yeah, I got 3 times planned out. Yeah. Well, thank you guys, Helen.
Thank you.
Alright, hi guys. First, thank you so much for being here. It's really awesome. So it's great to come back into my home state, and it's just awesome. I learned so much from Kyle, and I'm also very thankful that he was gracious enough to let me show low singles because that's what he was going to do. But he showed really awesome ankle pick instead. So I just learned a lot. So I'm really excited. And yeah, so I'm just going to show low singles today. How many of you guys hit a low single already? Okay, awesome. So if you guys have a certain way that you like to do the move and you're already very successful at it, by all means stick with that. I'm just going to show you what works for me. And to start, I'm just going to explain why I really love the low single. So I grew up wrestling boys, and I couldn't ever match their strength. I knew I wasn't going to have the same strength as them. So I really liked to rely on my technique. That's what I had to capitalize on. And also a move like the low single is awesome because it's not about strength. I would definitely not choose ever to tie up with Kyle, especially after that demonstration. So my game plan right now would be to just try and shoot a low single from the open. And so I think there's benefits of having moves from ties, but also from open. And so with that, I'm just going to start. I'm just going to have Kyle stand here. And the key point that I wanted to note about shooting from the open is that I think the low single for me is a huge timing move. So if I'm this close, it's not very realistic for me to shoot a low single. I would shoot a single leg, or I would tie up, fireman's carry, something else. So I like to shoot my low single from out here. And again, the body position rules are really, really important. So you guys probably know the move. It's not that it's super fancy, advanced move, but every little body position point is key. So I'm just going to show that right now, and I'm going to start very basic, and I'm going to show you the way that you can build up to practice it so that you reinforce good habits. So I'm starting in my stance, and when I shoot this, I'm not diving down to it. I'm lowering my level, and I want to drop my knee, my hand right here, and my head right here. And all I have to do is time it, and he's going to take that step. So how do I get in that position every time? This hand, every single time, I want to wrap around here. So if I picked his foot up, it would look like it fits perfectly from my elbow down to my hand. And I don't want my hand here on the ankle. My hand's on the ankle, he can step out. If it's here and he steps out, even if he steps back, I still have it, so he's gonna go over. So I'm wrapping this right here. I don't want my elbow up here because he can still turn in, there's not gonna be pressure. When it's here, if he tries to turn his foot, his elbow's gonna block it. I want it completely on the mat, and I just wanna wrap my hand around. Can you guys see that? So first, I'm lowering my level, I'm dropping, and I'm wrapping my hand, okay? Next thing that I want is right here on his knee. This is where I want this part of my forehead to go, okay? This is really crucial because this is what's gonna get him to step. This move, I'm not trying to, shoot here and push him over anything. All I have to do is time to just tap my head right here, and he's gonna take this step back. So he's standing, I lower my level. I'm not pushing hard on your knee, right? So the reason that he's stepping back the pressure and the angle that I'm putting on his leg. When I drop this hand here and I push my head here, it forces him, it pushes the pressure on his knee, this locks it out, and this pushes his knee over. So eventually, just lightly, I can push it all the way down. So again, a big strong guy like Kyle, I'm gonna lose any tie, so I need to find something else. This isn't about blasting through or using my strength. It's about making sure that I have good body position and I'm lining everything up so that I can complete this takedown. So the last thing, or the last point of the body position is how do I get my arm to wrap around his ankle and my head to align perfectly with his knee every time. And this is the part that I think a lot of people get lost on a little bit, and that's your other hand. So if I shoot on both elbows, like just physically the way my body is, I can't lift my head higher than this. So when I lift this one hand, it lifts my head so that I'm in line with his knee. So if I shoot both hands down, and I'm looking at the pressure's not here, I'm bent over, he can just drive his knee into me, or bend down or anything, and then I'm gonna get stuck. So when I'm shooting, I want all three of those to happen at once. So the way I drilled it over and over again before I ever shot it was just lower my level, drop. This hand posted, this hand wrapped around, and my head just taps. All I want him to do is step. So if I got him to take a light step, then I knew that everything was in correct position. So, and the reason that step is helpful and all the body position is that moving forward, it can transition into any other move. So let's say I'm as strong as Kyle, that's my goal, and we're in the same weight class, and we're wrestling over and over again, and women's wrestling is a D1 sport, and we're in the finals, and he knows that I'm hitting an ankle pick. So this time when I go to shoot, he's gonna step back. So I go to shoot, I just switch everything. So I went from, I did this, everything I just did here, my right arm down, my left hand posted, I switched. This arm still wraps around, this is still posted, this still pushes in the knee. He's still gonna go down. So we're wrestling around, he knows that I have this ankle pick, whatever leg he leads. And again, you do the move fast, but when you're learning it, when you drill it, reinforce the good habit now, because here is the thing about habits. Either way, it hurts. You know, if you do a bad habit, if I'm shooting with my head down, it's gonna hurt when someone's sprawling. If I have to do 1,000 reps, you know, my neck's gonna hurt at the end of the day. So yes, it might seem like it's harder to shoot with my head up and to push and finish, but I'm telling you, a good habit feels better when you're wrestling in a match and you finish a takedown. So reinforce the habit now. You can literally just drill those two parts over and over again. And you can drill them on anyone. Kyle's not my size, but I'm not using my strength right now. It's all about technique. And so if you feel like you know, you're not going to match strength with someone or speed, this is a great move because it's timing. And so again, another critical point is just knowing what move to hit when. So if I'm this close, I can't drop. I'm going to shoot through, and it's just he'll be able to just drive his knee into me or sprawl or, you know, tie up with me. So this really comes from maybe we're tying up, there's a break in action, he circles away, and I know that when he steps back, I'm just going to shoot. So again, this is one of my favorite moves. I do a lot of stuff from ties now, so when people stay away, this is a great way to finish. And I really believe that body position will translate into, you know, any other position in wrestling. So if your head is, you always want your head up. If he steps out with this one, it's just still switching here. So the body position translates over. When I'm finishing single, I still want my head up. When I'm in a stance, I don't want to be wrestling like this. So again, if you have the way that you like to do the move, that's great. I would just challenge you to try this. And if it's not for you, then that's great as well. So I think we all have our own ways of doing things, and I'm sure Kyle's low single is different than mine. This is what I prefer because, again, I lacked a lot of strength wrestling the boys growing up, so I needed to find ways to capitalize. And any questions on the move?
Setup would you use?
That's good. Good question. Yeah, because a setup is like, in soccer would be like, what do the players on the field do until the ball gets to the goal? So the takedowns are the shooting, but the setup is the really important part, which is the ball management. So with this, you can kind of find it from anywhere. I might tie up with him, and I'm ready to take the shot, it's not going to be there. So whether he's circling, sometimes I'll circle. I think with this move, for me, it's a distance move. Would you have different setups?
Yeah, I mean, Helen's, from distance, that's one of the best ways to shoot it. So, and like she said, you don't got to be real fast. Distance is a really good way to do it. Guys, clearing ties. So, Helen's on me, and I try to clear a tie, and I circle back. She can go, but all the same thing, distance, works well.
Yeah. So, I think you can find a setup, low to high, by pulling his head down, he's going to pull it up, that's when I shoot. If I fake a shot, he's going to down block, that's when I snap. So with this, it's, I wouldn't say I have one go-to setup because it's from the open. So I'm just kind of looking to see what foot is he leading. Maybe I'll fake to get a different foot leading, and then I'll drop into that, or I'll wait for him to circle. What I prefer is really just, I'm timing his steps. So if he's circling a lot, okay, I'm going to know eventually I'm going to time it to shoot the low single. So for me, it's a huge timing move. And then I love it because it's a great combination move, and you can also change up the variety a little bit. So I also like to shoot it with my head on the outside. And this is one of my favorite variations of it. So let's say I fake and Kyle steps back, and instead of shooting this way, you can also shoot outside. So to just show you without the fake first, so I drop, same thing. This hand's posting because this keeps my head in line with his knee. This arm is still dropping. If I'm above like this, then his joints can turn, he can pivot. I'm gonna get, squished. But when he's like this, or when my elbow's down, I'm really blocking his toe from pivoting. And this hand right here, this holds. If he tries to step up or if he tries to kick away, I have it like a football. Okay, Kyle, tell me if this is legal. I'm not wrenching it or anything. Again, it's just about body positioning, and I don't have to be strong to apply pressure to his knee if my body is aligned with his, where it's kind of blocking his leg from turning out. So I drop, head outside. This is key because if my head goes down, it's not really putting pressure, and he can start to turn his knee into me. Yeah. But when my head's here, again, like with any takedown, you're going to drive your head to where you're going. So I'm looking to where I'm going, and I need this to be a football because if I pick it up like this, he's going to kick out, right? So I have to block that toe from being able to kick out. So this one, I'll kind of shoot diagonal, I'll tie up, and then turn here. So again, this is lined up. I just slide my knee, and I'm trying to stay as close as possible, right? So this is where the pressure is. And when I come up, I actually saw Dennis Sargush, Russian wrestler. This is how he finished. I got to go to Russia, and he did this, and it really hurt. I'm holding this ankle there because this is going to tell him that he doesn't want to kick out, right? This is so. And then, lastly, I've seen Kyle drill this all the time. It's a really good habit to drill takedown to a turn. I know if you guys are wrestling folk style, it might be a little bit different, but this is a great move for folk style, and it's going to be, I think, even better for freestyle because it transitions really great into a turn. So I'm here, I set up, I shoot, I get him to step. But right now, I just follow through, and it's laced up. So I can pick it up, or if it was more mat, I would roll it through. So that's my move. I didn't tell him that.
445.
Cool. Does anyone have any questions about the move? I'll do it. Well, I'll do that. But does anyone have any questions related to sports psych, nutrition, wrestling, the Olympics? Yeah. What was my weight cut? My weight cut was hard. normally wrestle in the 121-pound weight class. I used to be a small for that weight, and then I got a strength coach, and so it's awesome. I gained a lot of muscle, but then I was too big for 53. So it was 116, and I cut about 20 to 25 pounds. But I had a nutritionist, a doctor, a strength coach, and my wrestling coach all working together. So I only ate organic food. I bought it myself. I only got the calories based on what I was putting into it. So I had someone working with me, so it wasn't 25 pounds because I was disciplined. It was just trying to do something in the healthiest way possible. So I'm not, I think at your guys' age, I didn't cut a lot of weight. I wasn't a fan of that. For this, being stuck between two Olympic weights, and I had already been preparing for a couple of years to wrestle Yoshida and to wrestle all those girls, and when they changed the weight classes, it only gave me 2 years to make a decision, but I'd already spent 2 preparing for these girls, so I think I could have gone up or down. I chose to go down because I'd already been preparing to wrestle them. When I was younger and guys didn't want to wrestle me, I think what I found is that growing up there's definitely some resistance to being a girl in a predominantly male sport. But I think I'm really lucky that my parents helped me to always find good coaches or good training partners. My first ever coach is here, Bob Kristen, and I think if he had been, not a supporter of women's wrestling, maybe I would have never even stuck in the sport. But from day one, he welcomed girls in the program. But again, to answer your question, my sophomore year of high school, I think the first 10 dual meets we had, kids forfeit to me in a row. And again, I really have to thank my coaches, my high school coaches, because, they just told all the other teams, like, hey, if you keep forfeiting to her, we're going to forfeit all of our matches. So I had a lot of support. I think you might find resistance in whatever you do. It could be with boys not wanting to wrestle girls, but even in a, all-girl sport, even now, I still find resistance with things, so there's going to be challenges no matter what. It's unfortunate that may be a challenge, but I would say just stick with it and keep doing what you love, because again, there's a lot of opportunities, especially for girls as you get older. So just stick with it.
You're gonna get the rest pretty soon.
Sorry?
You're gonna get the rest pretty soon.
I get 2 days off starting tomorrow. So I'm really excited about that.
So, at what age was it that you knew that you were going to become an Olympian?
So I started wrestling when I was 7 years old, and I loved it. I was terrible at every other sport I ever did. I was really shy and scared and cried a lot and got asked to quit. But after my first year of wrestling, my parents came back and told me that I had to quit because there wasn't a future. Women's wrestling wasn't an Olympic sport. And then a month later, it got added to the Olympic program by the IOC. So my parents came back to me and said, hey, actually, you can continue wrestling if you want because there is potentially a future for you. So that's when I decided that when I was 8 that I wanted to be an Olympian, because I felt like the thing I love to do got taken away from me. So why not go for the greatest achievement you can? But it was a lot easier to set the goal when I was 8 when I didn't know what what it entailed. So I never wanted to quit wrestling. I love it. I love what I do. I never wanted to quit except for like the past 3 months.
What do you try to stay away? What foods do you try to stay away from while training?
Well, I think you can. Everyone's body's different. I think there's general rules to health that we know. I stopped drinking soda in high school. I just only drink water. I don't, I call it. I just didn't want to put my calories towards that. I'd rather choose chocolate. But so I'm not saying I'm perfect. But for the Olympics, the year before, it was really chicken, spinach, no dressing, and a spoon of peanut butter or avocado 4 times a day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack. And again, things change. My nutritionist based on how I'm lifting, or there's protein powders and there's CAA, stuff like that. But that was what I ate. So. And it's you don't have to go to extremes. I'm not saying that. That's what I ended up having to do, but you can definitely build into it. So I used to love frappuccinos, and then I weaned off to cappuccinos, and then I weaned off to Americano. I'll tell you, I've been off any kind of diet for the past month, and it's like, I'm not even working out and I'm tired 24/7, and I got brain fog and everything. So when I worked out, I recovered a lot faster, I had more energy, I felt great. So there's a lot of perks to being healthy in general.
With how regimented wrestling is, how far out, like training-wise, competition-wise, do you guys plan things? Like, is it a year out, 2 years out, or less than 6 months?
Like the schedule?
Yeah, like how regimented, like, out is your schedule of when you're going to compete, where at, training-wise?
I think for the peaking process, well, I would say that my coaches would probably answer this better than I would. I just really trusted their guidance in that. But the peaking process, you got to look at it first in a 4-year peaking process. So what's been explained to me is, the first year is the year to learn new techniques, because you're not going to win with old techniques. There's going to be a target on your back now, you have to develop. So the first year is new techniques. The second year is a lot of camps, with foreign countries, because you have to start trying those techniques on your competition and seeing what works, what you have to adjust. The third year is a lot of competing and just, seeing how to gauge yourself. And then the fourth year is kind of just closing doors, not showing anyone your stuff and really just preparing to peak. So that's a 4-year plan. And then obviously within each year, you have to know, last year I took a month off in December and did a really intense lifting phase, which made no sense to anyone because they knew I was going to have to cut 20 pounds. But, my strength coach explained the philosophy that you gain a lot of strength so that when throughout the next upcoming 6 months, when you're cutting weight constantly and working out a lot, you still are going to retain 25% of that strength, which is more than what you started with. So there's like a lot of different things. I think the peaking process as you get older makes a huge difference. And again, I don't have all the answers for that. That was my great team of coaches, so I'm thankful to them for that.
What kind of endorsements have you been able to get?
I didn't have any endorsements going into the Olympics. Didn't have a shoe deal or anything else, and my focus was the gold medal and whatever, except I didn't want to give any energy to entertaining other things. I just need to focus. And then since then, it's been doing a lot of media. My goal is to promote the sport. So right now, it's been more media. There's a couple endorsement deals that I'm still in the works of discussing with my agent and obviously the company. So right now, I don't have any information to give, but I'll just say it's even if nothing comes of this, and I had to make this, my faith is really involved in my wrestling, and I just felt like I had to kind of pray through this, but that, if nothing came from it but a gold medal, it was all worth it. And so it's kind of like Kyle said, you can put value to things, and I just, a lot of opportunities came up before the Olympics, these photo shoots, and there's this opportunity, and if you go here, you're going to miss out on this opportunity if you don't do it. But honestly, none of it matters. My coach used to always say, every decision you make, compare it to a gold medal. And if it doesn't compare, then it's not worth it. So I said no to a lot of things, and I think that helped.
Okay, Helen, you want to take one more? Or?
Going back to that fun aspect of wrestling, what's the craziest or the funnest move maybe that you've pulled off or that you've seen a friend do?
Well, I've seen friends hit suplex, and I've been working on that. So I've always wanted to hit that, but I also, it doesn't happen yet. Funnest move I've done, my semifinals at the Olympics this year, my team Atlanta taught me a really cool trip, and that was also just really fun to church. So it was hook around the ankle and catch it, and fall to the back. So that was super fun. But I don't have like a favorite move. I'm like, I'll take whatever's there, and so I love wrestling, so it's like an art form.
Helen, Jeff Zanetti from Wrestling.
Hey, Helen. Can you talk about your mindset right before a match? Like, what are you thinking the 5 to 10 minutes before you wrestle?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is kind of funny because after the Olympics, after Kyle won, I went up to him and I'm like, Kyle, congratulations, that's so awesome, were you nervous? Were you like freaking out? And, what was going through your mind? Did you know you were going to win? And Kyle's like, no, I wasn't nervous. It's good. I'm like, what? Wait. So I joked with him, I'm like, where are your emotions? So I'm really emotional, and I think something I had to learn for myself is I can't look to maybe sometimes the male wrestler mindset because I'm a female, and I'm emotional, and I'm sensitive. And for the longest time, I thought that I wouldn't be able to succeed because I couldn't copy Dan Gable, and I didn't have that level of intensity hard to do the things that you need to do because you're like, well, I know it's going to pay off. So you have to train that way, but when you get to competition, for me, I have to wrestle as if, you know, I don't know because I don't. I say I'm called to be a wrestler, I'm not called to be a magic 8-ball. My job isn't to predict the future, it's to step on the mat and do what I love. And I've prepared myself to the best of my ability to get a win, but again, I still can't predict it, and until, you know, the 6 minutes is up and I can look at the scoreboard. So I have a lot of doubts, I have a lot of nerves before I wrestle. Before the Olympics, all I said over and over again, you know, I repeated Bible verses, I said, Christ is in me, I'm enough. That's what I do. It freed me from fear, and again, you guys can find your own way, and things are going to change. At the Olympics, you actually weren't allowed to have headphones in before you walked out, and so I remember I almost freaked out because I'm like, wait, I need to listen to music so that no thought comes in, no negative thought comes in, now what do I do? And as soon as I had to, you know, pass over my iPod, it was like, well, I'm just going to keep thinking positive thoughts and keep saying these Bible verses, and I'm just going to say them over and over again and not give any room for any other thought to come in. So I don't think you have to be some type of warrior mindset to win. I used to think Olympic champion, you know, had some secret, you know, quality that I didn't have, or what did I need to get to attain, you know, in order to become that. But after winning, I'm like, oh wow, like normal people can win. You know, I have doubts and fears, and this is also. So that was my experience.
Awesome.
Have everybody show your appreciation for all. Wrestling coaches who are here, we have something for you at the registration table. Helen and Kyle will be signing some autographs outside of the picture taking. The 160 people who signed up for the dinner, the room is down the hall on the left. That starts